meeting room. In fact, I should have done that before as well too, but there you are. There we go. Okay, I think this still, oh, here we go. Okay, I think we're loaded. So Rita, I think, feel free to kick off whenever you're ready.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you again. Some familiar faces and I think maybe some new faces for the Community Advisory Board. We are, my name is Rita Higgins. I'm with the Marion Institute, and I'm going to ask everyone if they can to change their Zoom names so that you've got your name, and I'm going to do it myself right now. Marion Institute. Well, don't put Marion Institute. You can put your organization, so that we get a feeling for who's here. I have been focusing on this carrot project with the Marion Institute and working with Joanne and Frank and their teams. And today we're going to be focusing on theme 2, which is community health and well-being. So I think with the number of people that we have in here and just a few new faces, and I know for those that were on the steering committee, this is a little bit repetitive, but I think it's always good to, when we can, get a feel for who's here. If everyone wants to give just a brief introduction, who they are, if you're with an organization, call it out. And Joanne, we'll start with you as a project partner here.
Hey folks, Joanne Zigmund with Old Colony Planning Council. I am the project manager for this Food Action Plan initiative. Welcome.
And then we'll kick it to Bill. Bill, you're here. You're with he's with Old Colony Planning Council as well.
Yes, I am. Bill Napolitano. I'm a resiliency and sustainability planner with Old Colony Planning Council and working with Joanne and Rita on this project.
Great. And then Frank.
Frank Basler, Plymouth County Administrator, supporting and happy to work with OCPC and the Marion Institute on this important project.
Great. All right. I'm just going to go across my screen now. So Tim O'Neill, you're next.
Hi, Tim O'Neill from Wellness Croft. I'm also behind the Plymouth Food and Energy Hub Economic Development Project here that we're sponsors of. And I will be speaking next week at the Cape Cod Technology Council about the Food and Energy Nexus, if you're interested next week. But I was asked to volunteer by the Plymouth Foundation for Economic Development because they see a lot of the work I'm doing in food and energy.
Great. Thank you. Rob May.
Hi, Rob May, Director of Planning and Economic Development for the City of Brockton.
Thank you. Megan Avery.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan, and I'm the Senior Program Director of Healthy Living with the Old Colony YMCA. I know my colleague Lauren Bartel has been on these calls before, but I'm here representing us today. Excited to hear from everybody.
Great. Thank you. Marisol.
Hi, good morning again. Marisol Torres, Program Director for the BAMC Helpline, currently having funding for the over 60 community with utilities and oil assistance.
And BAMSI Brockton Area
Helpline.
But what does BAMSI stand for?
Brockton Area Multi-Service Incorporated.
Beautiful.
So we have 140 group homes. We are WIC, COPE, early intervention. I'm just the helpline portion of it. And I believe I'm replacing Kathy Anderson. I believe she was a part of this team prior. So I'm brand new, first meeting.
Great. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Molly.
Good morning, everyone. Molly Vollmer, Plymouth County Extension. I work closely with the 4-H program and our overall county agriculture community.
Great. Thank you. Howard.
Good morning, Howard Randall, Central Plymouth County Water District Chair and Old Colony Y, and 30 years of public life.
Wonderful. Thank you. Brian Wick.
Hi, Brian Wick with Massachusetts Cranberries. We represent cranberry growers in Massachusetts.
Thank you. John Fay.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Fay, Senior Planner for the City of Brockton.
Thanks. And Alyssa.
Hi, everyone. Alyssa Papantanakis. I'm an Associate Planner with OCPC.
Thank you. Liz, quick intro.
Got to get to that mute button. Hi, everyone. I'm Liz Wiley. I'm the Executive Director at the Marion Institute and thrilled to be here with you.
Thanks. And we've got Charlie Brandon.
Hello, I'm the Urban Farming Director for the Boys and Girls Club of Metro South. So I oversee our 3 hydroponic farms, our food rescue, and our food distribution program.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Meg Riley.
Hey, can you guys hear me? I'm Meg Riley. I'm the agricultural extension educator for Plymouth County. And so I work with people and I work with farmers.
Great. Thank you all so much. So I'm going to share a few slides. Just a couple for those of you that were here last time. Joanne and I were talking, and we're going to change up the way that we're taking notes in the meeting. So I'm going to do a few introductory slides, and then if you remember last 2 meetings, we've been working through the spreadsheet. We're going to try working in instead more of a Google Doc, I think, or just a document. To try and make it a little more engaging, a little bit easier to see. And Joanne and I will both be taking notes in the background. I'll still be reading them off, but Joanne will be sort of simplifying the notes and hopefully making it a little bit easier to see where we're at and what we're doing. So just a note on that. I just sent a request there, Joanne or Frank, to share my screen. And I'll just run through a couple slides so that I can give, particularly anyone who's joining us for the first time, an overview of the project, what we're doing, what is the Community Advisory Board, and then how the meeting will work. Okay. All right, let me get into presentation mode here. Whoops. Okay, so, oh gosh, how did I get? Oh my gosh, sorry guys. All right, so as you may have heard in the prior meeting, or you may know that this CARET project is part of this larger MVP project that Old Colony Planning Council and Plymouth County are working on, which is building a climate resilient food system in Plymouth County. So this is the CARET portion of that project, which is the Community and Agriculture Resilience Audit Tool. And our meeting today will be about community health. Theme 2 of the CARET, community health and well-being. So quick agenda, we did some introductions. I'm hoping that we might do a little icebreaker in the chat. We finished off theme 1. It took us 2 meetings, but we finished off theme 1, and the theme was about natural resources, management, preservation, use, specifically ecosystems and farms. So just following up on that, asking everyone to pop their favorite Plymouth County natural resource in the chat so you can get a feel for what everyone's enjoying out there. We're going to, again, chat quickly about why we're here, how the meeting will work, just a few meeting guidelines, and then we'll launch into theme 2. So if you haven't had a chance already, if you could change your Zoom screen name, first and last name, and then your organization, if you're here with an organization. And if you can find yourself in this food system graphic that we have, adding that in to the chat is also great, so we get a sense again of who's here. We did our introductions there. So again, the leads on this project are Plymouth County, Old Colony Planning Council, and then the Marion Institute. And this is sort of the general, mission and vision of this larger project. So what we're doing with the CARET is a form of asset mapping. And the CARET is really a tool that has been developed by North American Food Systems Network and Indiana University that is a community-led, so a much more participatory way of understanding the assets that a community has related to the food system. So this part is really discovering the assets. Throughout the project, we're going to work on discovering the assets and then connecting them together with the ultimate goal, as Joanne has mentioned, of developing this local food action plan for Plymouth County, and where we're really identifying gaps and opportunities to mobilize our assets and increase our impact and increase our ability to collaborate on food system projects. For the Marion Institute, this is part of a larger project for us, which is the update of our 2026 food system assessment. And so we are conducting carrots in each of the 6 counties in southeastern Massachusetts. We are well on our way with Bristol, and we're getting ready to score. We've just started our carrot work in Barnstable County, and we're here in Plymouth, charging into theme 2. And the islands in Norfolk are coming soon. The Community Advisory Board. So the Community Advisory Board has been formed specifically for this project so that we can work as a group to go through each of the 101 indicators that are included in the carrot. We're really trying to get as diverse a cross-section of people as possible. And I know Joanna said it and I say it. Everyone really is welcome at this table. That's a big task. And so, you know, having 16 of us here today is amazing. And we're hoping that, again, as we do this, we're bringing in as many voices as possible. And I really want to say thank you to some of the new faces that are here. It's really, really important to have, again, as wide a cross-section as possible. And the role really is just share knowledge and insights related to each indicator. We don't expect everyone to know a lot about all of the indicators, and we're not going to specifically call on anyone once we get into looking at the indicators. When you know something, you know, raise your hand, throw it in the chat, chime in, whatever way feels most comfortable. But there's a lot of value. We have found a lot of value in the conversations, the questions, and even just listening. So we know that not everyone will have expertise on specific indicators, and that's okay. We really appreciate you all being here. This is, again, just speaking to who's been here, who showed interest initially, and finding a good balance in who is contributing is the ultimate goal. And we've broken it out by sectors so that you can kind of, again, see who's here. We've really benefited from having a lot of policy for theme 1 to help us understand some of the assets that are in Plymouth County, but we were missing farmers. So we're really glad that you're here now, and we may loop back to some of those theme 1 questions with you at some point. So as we mentioned, we finished up the natural resource management, use, conservation, and preservation of ecosystems and farmland in our first 2 meetings. And we're moving on to the community health and well-being. We will be going through indicators for theme 2, and they're going to look a little bit like this. I'll be reading them off and sort of leading the discussion on them. And Joanne will be taking notes that everyone can see. I'll be taking notes in the background. Once we've finished a theme, we're cleaning up the notes and we're producing sort of an inventory of all the different programs, policies, projects that came up in the conversation. And these ultimately will be used for scoring. So once we've gone through all the themes, identified all the assets, confirmed them, we'll be coming back together as Community Advisory Board to score them using the carrot scoring system, which is really looking at, are these assets here? Are they funded? Are they in place? And once we have each indicator scored, that will add up into a final score that gives us the baseline resiliency for Plymouth. We have a few guidelines. I think general Zoom guidelines, but really making sure that everyone has a chance to contribute and really, you know, just making sure that we are chiming in when we have some information, all opinions, all feedback. We want to hear it all. But again, just making sure that everyone has a chance and that there's space for people to add their comments as well. To the extent you can, minimize multitasking. This is a community Zoom room and some of the conversations can be hard. And we most definitely will have some differing opinions on these. So just keeping it cordial, being open to other perspectives, opinions, conversation. And, you know, just kind of work through some of these. This is, you know, one of the reasons we like the carrot is because it gets people talking, and it gets people talking that don't get a chance to be in the same room together. That can be scary and that can be hard, but we kind of just have to keep talking because it is the collective expertise that is really going to help us figure out what are the gaps, what are the opportunities, and what are the solutions that are really going to drive local food economies, and resilience in Plymouth County. If you can, camera on, mic muted if you have lots of background noise. And again, contribute any way that feels comfortable. Chime in, raise your hand, add comments to the chat whenever you have information. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. These are the two sub-themes for theme 2. You've got one last chance to get your favorite Plymouth County natural resource into the chat. But I just want to open it up for any questions before we get started on answering the theme 2 indicators.
Rita, Tim had a question. How do we validate we are in the right segment? I am an example of a food processor. Tim, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I saw the pie chart. And I thought there was one segment for I just want to make sure that we're in the right box, because I think when I introduced myself it was as an entrepreneur, but I do own a food processing company and that's my perspective. So I just want to see if there's a way we can validate that our information is falling into the right pie chart segment.
Yeah, that's something that we will come back to. We have sort of had a first go at seeing sort of assigning people. We've looked at it through 2 different sort of sector lens. One is food specific. And then one is more, are you government? Are you business? Are you nonprofit? That's something that we will come back to all of you to validate. So
I'll
we've
just
got some
close
things
it out.
filled in. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
I just want to say that because of the way we think about it is our license is from Massachusetts as a food processor. So I guess that grounds it out from our perspective. Right?
Yeah. And
Cool.
so for the pie charts that we have so far, and I'm actually thinking we might move to bar charts because it does a better job of showing us who's not here. Is, we have you down for business and then we have you down for food processing. And we'll be coming back to all of you to validate all of that information. And it's something that we'll be tracking over time, sharing. And again, that's how we're going to figure out who do we not have in the room? Who do we need to make sure is involved? And, where else do we need to get some answers from? Any other questions? All right, sounds good. Oh, one other note. Sorry, Joanne, I think the only problem is now I can't remember if we said it in the other meeting or this meeting, but theme 1 did take us 2 meetings. It was 21 indicators. And again, there's a lot of resources in Plymouth. There's some great conversation. Joanne and I were talking what we think we're going to do going forward so that people can really make sure that they're at the meetings that they would like to be at based on their expertise or their interests, is if we don't finish a theme, we will just sort of take note of that and we'll have a meeting at some point that is pulling together any of the indicators that we missed, so that each of the subsequent meetings, what theme we are going to be focusing on. We thought we would finish up the last meeting in theme 1 a little bit early and get to theme 2, and we didn't do that. We know we had some sort of health experts in the room, so we just wanted to make it a little bit easier to understand exactly what we're going to be focusing on.
And I'll just off the back of that quickly say that Rita and I have also been chatting around ways that we can continue to work on the carrot tool outside of just these monthly meetings, whether that's some sort of spreadsheet that we share with you all on a website or something else. Rita has a lot of ideas. She's mentioned, I think, a few, but if you guys have ideas for how best to kind of keep this conversation going in between meetings, we welcome those as well.
Yeah.
So with that, all right, you ready for me to share the screen, Rita?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. How is the size? Can everybody see that okay?
Yeah, second there. Okay. So, all right. So, yes, we're recording. All right. So this is the sub-theme A of community health and well-being, where we're looking at improving citizen wellness through enhanced access to nutritious, affordable, and culturally appropriate foods. Sorry, one more thing I wanted to add is that we are also, this is a work in progress. So as we're going through these, if anyone has any suggestions for edits, language change, new indicators, something that feels like it's missing from the carrot or doesn't quite capture Plymouth County food system, we are all ears. So, you know, again, as we go through these, if there's something you feel is missing related to these themes and sub-themes, definitely let us know. Okay, in Plymouth County, are there opportunities for leadership, collaboration, and connections with socially disadvantaged groups to foster equity and inclusion in community, professional, and grassroots contexts? I also add as well that sometimes there are no answers to some of these, some of the indicators. So if we're silent, we can't think of something, sometimes they just don't exist. So anyone know of any organizations working on providing leadership opportunities?
Plymouth County 4-H, we do for anyone under 18 or even potentially older with, you know, any developmental delays or educational challenges. We also work very closely with the Center for Active Living in Plymouth, mentoring with our teens.
Cool. And so the 4-H, the opportunities for under 18s, is a specific program, or is it just sort of practices to try and make it as inclusive as possible?
We welcome anyone, yeah, just as inclusive as possible.
Cool.
Yeah, Rita, Nikki's not on this call. She was on the steering committee, Nikki Galabus, from South Shore CAC, the Community Action Committee. They are all about collaboration and connections with many groups. And I know Plymouth County supports that organization. The commissioners vote to fund some programs like, tax completion, food pantry, backpack programs, and other programs, for reach out, including fuel assistance, etc. I know like BAMSI does too.
For BAMSI, it's also WIC. WIC provides many nutritional different things. Angela Brown is the contact over at WIC that does the food programs and just access all the way around.
At the Old Colony Y, we do have a mentor program as well that is for individuals under the ages of 18. There's one-on-one mentor opportunities as well as group mentoring as well.
Just also adding for BAMSI, BAMSI has a pantry that assists with HIV management. So they have a pantry for their HIV clients that we're trying to make bigger. We're trying to get a bigger situation going so we can help more people. Sorry, one more thing. Young Adult Access Center. Sorry. The Young Adult Access Center at All Things Possible provides food to young adults at very low barrier.
Is that, I've not heard of that. Is that region wide or is that in a specific town?
Well, Young Adult Access is region wide, and BAMSI has it at the All Things Possible building. So there are many Young Adult Access Centers, right? They're DMH funded. So ours is at All Things Possible.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody aware of any programs or organizations or individuals who are trying to get new people in our region interested in farming or growing food? I mean, I would say, and I think, I don't know, do we have,
There's New Venture up in the North Shore that does training every year. I'm trying to, I don't know the
do
full
they
name,
have
but they
a
do.
footprint? Do they have a footprint down here on the South Shore?
Not that I know of, but that's where a lot of the South Shore folks I know end up going to get their
Going.
farmer training. There's not like the SEMA doesn't have a Southeastern Massachusetts agricultural program. They don't have the same kind of training. It's a CMAP, I think.
Oh, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so CMAP does do a regional conference every year. So, and there is like a specific track for trying to like educate and engage new farmers. Land for Good, which tries to connect like new farmers, like land opportunities. Dee Levanti, she is the representative for Southeastern Massachusetts.
Yeah,
there's
Land for Good's a
also-
good one.
Yeah, there's also the craft program. So there's the Eastern Mass Craft Program, which is all of Eastern Mass, which is the collaborative regional, I don't even know what they all stand for, but like farming, which does like specifically like once a month, like trainings like for farmers across Eastern Massachusetts. So, and then, you know, there is the new farmers program that you were talking about that it's run through MDAR too. So MDAR does like a Zoom program specifically for like the new farming, like a new farmer dream Zoom program.
Is that through affiliation
in-
with the CMAP Regional Conference?
That's the one in Ipswich. That's the New Venture, I think, was the one in Ipswich.
That's a New Entry. Yeah, New
There we go,
Entry
New Entry.
is based
Yes.
out of Ipswich. Yeah, but
There we
they do like they partner with MDAR so that it's like a it's like a Zoom. It's like a multi. Like I think it's like a 3-month program for new farmers to do like a farm planning course.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can pull my New Venture off. That was actually New Entry.
How about Bristol County Agricultural?
Yeah, Bristol County Aggies also right now they're in the process of like pulling together a group to do like a community like agricultural education institute, but that's like really in like the very beginning planning phases. But obviously, I mean, right now they have a student body of you know, kids up through high school.
I don't know whether any of the other vocational schools in the area have agricultural programs. But
Yeah,
they may.
Norfolk Ag, which is out of you know, Walpole, you know, they have they also have a program for high school age students. But Bristol Aggie, I mean, that conference that CMAP puts on, they put on at Bristol Aggie. Now the statewide apiary is at Bristol Aggie also. So they're trying to do more to kind of like move into the space of, you know, educating like beyond high school students and then start educating like new farmers and even like providing resources to current farmers in our area.
The availability of land has been a real setback. I know I searched for a time to find farmers to farm some property that I was managing, and I had no takers. So I think the cost of land is very prohibitive for new farmers.
Definitely.
There's also some government funding programs designed for new farmers. USDA has through the Farm Service Agency, and Rural Development has programs, and Mass Department of Ag also has some grant funding opportunities. I don't remember off the top of my head. Mega, something like that sounds right. But
Mega grant.
Mega grant, thank you, Mick.
Yeah, and I would say the APR program, I know of one instance in Middleborough where in protecting the property, it included a set aside for active farming. I believe is a requirement of the APR funding.
The Just Roots farmers out of Greenfield, Mass, they were that up until last year, they were delivering fresh farmed goods to houses based on insurance. And that program has been cut. And like Digger Foods. Digger Foods was also another one that provided fresh food from the farm that has been cut. But my brother's keeper is also picking up the slack on that. They're working on picking up the slack on both what Digger Foods and Just Roots was doing.
Sheriff McDonald, I know, is through the aquaponics program, is bringing fresh protein like tilapia, and then fresh lettuce and vegetables to underserved.
That's at the sheriff's farm, right?
Yeah.
The county farm.
In addition to what Frank just said, they told us the other day that they're graduating their first class of inmates who received the official certification program on hydroponics.
So that's basically a certificate in hydroponics that they get?
Yep, that they can either go on and, find a job in that industry after they are released, or, again, just fostering new opportunities for them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Sheriff's farm? Is that the farm at the Plymouth County? Is that the Plymouth County? Okay. So that would be Jeff Smith.
Yeah, it actually is called the county farm run by the sheriff. So
thank you.
Awesome.
But the program is run by Sheriff McDonald and his team.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on this, or we can move on to the next one?
American Farmland Trust, I don't know if they have programs with this or not, but it might be something to check out as well before we lose that thought.
That's a good suggestion. Okay. All right, Rita, you want to move us along? Do you still have Rita? Oh, you're here, yes. Oh, we can't hear you. You're unmuted, but we can't. Oh, it just worked. Try it again.
Okay, how about now?
You're good.
You can, okay, great. Okay, that was fantastic. Sorry, I was kind of chatting along there to myself. Let me pull up my notes again, because just one moment to just expand it out a little bit more. So the idea, the sub theme again is access to healthy, affordable, culturally meaningful food. But are there ways, even beyond food, but sort of in the food system, connected, like health organizations or other organizations, youth organizations, that are providing ways for people from marginalized groups to take leadership roles and working together to making sure that they're included and heard in some of these? One last go on question one, just expanding it out a little bit.
I'm speaking without having the experience, but I think from what Melissa Ferretti told me of their food project with the Herring Pond tribe, I think they're trying to get young people into doing more local food growing of their own, like on a homestead kind of basis. So there might be some leadership development there. I'm not entirely sure, but we can follow up on that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I think so, Joanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I just jump into working with CMAP. So we have, I believe, 2 growers that as an organization, we're trying to support, who are one man is from Africa, and then another man is from, I can't honestly remember what country, but as far as growing culturally appropriate foods. And then also CMAP trying to support those guys with grant writing and grant access, since English is a barrier, and just also representation. So, that's an organization that's doing some of that work as well.
Fantastic. Great. Okay. I think
That farm that you're talking about, Meg, is in Lakeville, Middleborough, right? Just
yeah, they're renting that land by the state, so it's in Lakeville.
Yeah. Yeah, near the train station, just so you know.
And I see Tim added the Western Mass Food Processing Center, so they might have some, I'm thinking they might have some leadership opportunities there as well. Okay, that's a great list right there. So we'll move on to 23. Which is, are there in Plymouth County, are there organizations regularly monitoring public health indicators to assess food system related community health? Are local health officials keeping track of how food is affecting people's health in the community? Hospital organizations?
So I know that we've just made a lot of regulatory changes here in Massachusetts. I was with Senator Fernandez's team last night in our state AG, and they talked about how we now have changed in the last, say, 6 months in the state of Massachusetts around things like inoculation and health and public health. So there may be some new changes that we're not aware of. For instance, the problem with the federal government around CDC, Massachusetts has formed the first group of multi-states doing that right now. So there are major changes in how we regulate health, where it used to be a lot of federal support right now, but according to our senators and AG, that's stopped with the Trump administration. So right now we're having to be responsible for those ourselves now and putting out our own recommendations. So I think that's something that would need to be looked into a little bit more deeply for the current time we're in.
And are there any organizations that come to mind that are sort of a good source for those kinds of programs in general, but especially as things might be changing?
From my perspective, it's just the Massachusetts Public Health, right?
So state level.
Yeah, state level.
Yeah. This is one, Joanne, I don't know at all. This is a question mark, but I'm wondering if maybe Nikki might have some thoughts on this. I'm not sure if this would be in the South Shore Community Action Council's wheelhouse at all.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm familiar with a few. I'm trying not to speak so everybody else can speak, but I know the Tufts Foundation through the Massachusetts Healthy Aging Collaborative does some what's the word I'm looking for? Aggregating of data around community health that we use in our age-friendly plans. So they're potentially a resource for a higher level of info. I think at our steering committee earlier today, we talked about a few places that might carry this information as well too.
I think there are veterans organizations, Joanne. There's two. There's one on the Cape. There's one I met one gentleman from the Plymouth last night. I know that they're tracking veterans issues of homelessness and food. So there may well be tie-ins there for veterans organizations that are tracking these issues for veterans in particular.
Yep.
Oh, one that came up in Bristol County, Liz is still here. I think it was the Housing Authority in New Bedford. They were looking at it. It was kind of a new aspect that they were adding to the various things that they were considering, but bringing food into that conversation around health, mental health. So I don't know if there's if that's a possible source of information.
Who was that, Rita?
It was the New Bedford Housing Authority. So that might be
Housing Authority.
Yeah.
OCY is a part of the Health Related Social Needs program with WellSense and Mass Health. Our current ACO is Signature Healthcare, but that involves working with individuals who are have the highest needs as well as an additional health condition. And we work with them to support the basic needs of food as well as housing to help in turn lower ER visits, really looking at their overall health at a lens of meeting those health-related social needs before we can even meet their actual needs.
Megan, who is that? So that's the Y in partnership with who?
So it's a program through Mass Health. WellSense is our direct connection to that, and our current ACO is Signature Healthcare, but we are expanding.
Okay.
I don't know who we have on here from the education K through 12 programs too, but I know does anybody know if there are wellness programs in the schools? So, some of the work that we've done with our Grow Education program has, allowed us to work with the school districts to create their wellness plans. So I think more and more schools are doing that. So if anybody has any info there, that would be helpful.
Just a note too, and sort of to your comment as well, Tim, that in the steering committee meeting, we did talk about how, or it was brought up that funding has been pulled for measuring food insecurity in communities. And that's where figuring out who are the local organizations that are doing this work is going to be more important to understand food insecurity at the community scale. Okay.
Yeah,
think
Rita, just one more. I know the town of Plymouth is in the middle of doing a health assessment for the town that is looking at a whole host of characters, include food system related health. So that might be something that we can, I know Derek Brindisi and the whole director of health team.
Michelle Brady.
Michelle
Yeah,
Brady
she
is
would probably
working
know.
on it.
Yeah, we can follow up with her.
Yeah, that's a good call. Okay, great. All right, we will move on to 24. I do just want to throw it in there too. Feel free, if you think of something, we can go back to an indicator. So it's never too late. Okay, so 24. Are we enabling farm to institution procurement programs for schools, daycare facilities, hospitals, or correctional facilities? So to what extent are there any programs that are helping schools, hospitals, daycares?
So there is a grant. So the Mass, we're applying for it October 20th. So Mass Innovate from Mass CEC is allowing for innovative and disruptive projects. And we're going for a farm to institution project ourselves using that Mass Innovate. And so there's also a Mass Amplify project that people can work. And these are the ideas that they, it's all economic development stuff. It's all funded under the economic development policies here in Massachusetts.
Gotcha. And so you'll be going into schools then?
Yeah. So our project, I actually have Boston School Systems, Plymouth School Systems, and Massachusetts Maritime working with me. They require customers for the grant so that the customers can define what their purchasing requirements are as an institution here, because they don't. Right now, as an example, Boston only acquires 18% of local produce this year. And that's like amazing, but only 18%. So companies like mine are trying to figure out ways to get, how about 80% of local in? But that Mass CEC grant stuff is all economic development stuff and focused on these ideas of getting produce into institutions. Obviously, MDAR and stuff have other ones, right? MDAR's got a good one going. The USDA had one last year, but they canceled it. So MDAR is also another area where they're doing grants for small food processors, grants for farms, grants for energy. So MDAR helps a lot there in preparing the farmers to be able to compete.
Yeah.
Whether they can or not, it's a different story.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that
Mass Farm to School.
Mass Farm to School. Yeah. And do they do that through grants? Do you know, Meg? Or
yeah, so they're primarily grant funded. So I mean, I don't know what their landscape looks like for next year. I mean, I know Bristol Aggie got a grant from them last year to do more locally sourced food in the school.
Yeah, make sure we put FINE up there too, because that's their whole. I'm on their cohort for food processors and food hubs, but Farm to Institution New England, FINE, that's what they do, and they do annual. They actually has had an annual meetup at Food Connects in Vermont. But Farm to Institution New England is one area where I see a lot of major players in food trying to solve the same problem of getting stuff into institutions.
So I would call out the Carver Public School Food Service Program. So they were recognized this year by the USDA for bringing healthier meals to the kids.
They have a Fork
Teresa-
farm. They have a Fork farm, vertical farm over there.
Yeah,
Really smart stuff.
and it's grant funded and program funded. Teresa Vernazaro.
That's fantastic.
So Plymouth, Plymouth does also
Yeah,
have similar
she's the
training.
director.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a
South
new-
Shore Votech has a freight farm. They're not at full capacity yet, but the greens that they're growing are in their dining common, and then also in like the restaurant that they run.
Plymouth High School has a program manager that used to work for Pat, who's left. I'm about to meet the new food manager, but they have Fork farms as well. They do a kind of a Votech like light, if you will, from the Plymouth school systems. They hired a program manager last year, full timer, on it. So,
Sorry, Tim, I'm not quite catching what you're saying. You're saying Fort Farms?
fork, as in not a spoon, but a fork.
Fork.
Oh, Fork Farms. Sorry.
Yeah, Fork Farms. Yeah, they're the
Sounds like something
technology.
from
That's being
Minecraft.
used
as
by
I think this
Carver right
Yeah.
now, and that's also Plymouth was looking at that technology as well. It's a great little trainer system for vertical farming.
Gotcha. And my understanding is that I think is it Freight Farms that maybe went out of business? Oh, Tim, you're on mute.
Yes.
But Fork Farms would be similar to Freight Farms.
Yeah, Freight Farm did go bankrupt. I've met with some of the folks looking for work. So, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but Fork Farms would be similar.
So Brockton Public Schools, I know, has a freight farm. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if Rob or anybody else from Brockton might know better. I don't think it's active.
I do
and
not
I do know they not know. Last I heard, it was inactive. They didn't have.
There's also one with the Boys and Girls Club.
Boys and
Metro
Girls.
South.
Yep.
So Fork Farms is a standalone, doesn't need a special thing, can put it in your classroom. A Freight Farm is a freight, like a big cargo box that comes like a.
That's what they have.
Yeah, they're different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Brockton has, is the freight farm. That's inactive.
Not active in Brockton. Inactive. Yep. Not active. In
Yeah.
Brockton.
Unfortunately, I know too many people with inactive freight farms right now.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I do know they also.
There's also one in Plymouth that's run by Three Hearts Farm, and that's sold, for money to go back to veterans. But that one is active.
Yeah, he's a going
Is
concern.
that at the schools?
No, it's his own company.
Oh, okay.
Yep. He's an active farmer with a freight farm.
Gotcha.
I put it in my own notes, so I'm going to look into it. It's not even in Plymouth County, it's in Rhode Island. But I haven't heard yet in Bristol. We didn't come across any daycare facilities in Bristol, but that were doing it. But in Rhode Island, because we were in Westport, so we were right on the border with Rhode Island, and his play school is actually in Rhode Island. And in the classrooms, they had little towers, like plant towers, and they were putting lettuces and carrots and cucumbers in there, and the kids were having a blast. So I just made a note. One of the things we'll be doing too is collecting resources from other counties, other areas to give us some inspiration for, not reinventing the wheel is always a bonus, but getting some inspiration from other areas that we might be able to implement or suggest, incorporate in an action plan.
So I think Farm Fresh Rhode Island is a great example of that, Rita, right? They've got a program, right? They're working with people. It's Jesse and team, wonderful. They built a $20 million facility years ago. It's just really great people.
Yeah. Anyone know of any hospitals that are purchasing? I'm going to, and maybe even with the correctional facility with Plymouth County, Frank, do they fall in under this one?
Do they use what they grow, Frank?
They actually donate most of their food grown at the farm, to SSCAC.
Okay.
So I do know the sheriff and his team try to get healthier food for the inmates, but I think that's procured, and that the food grown is brought across the street to use in the food pantries in the SSCAC.
Yeah, they have to be licensed farm in order to actually use it for the prisoners, and that's something that they don't usually go through. All right, so they can donate it, but they can't use it in their own procurement because it has to be a known good source, and they're not licensed. So it's a weird conundrum.
Yeah, so BDIC, Beth Israel, they do have like a wellness coordinator. She's part of the advisory committee with Molly and I. And so, for example, like next weekend, I think it is, they're doing like the Sheriff's County Farm has like an open house, and then they have like a wellness fair. And so it sounds like they do some sort of like mobile market, like outreach. So some of the produce from the Sheriff's Department does go to that, like when it's like in season and they have availability. But I don't believe that any of the food that comes from the Sheriff's Department farm is like served in the hospital. But it sounds like they do like a wellness, like outreach, like mobile situation. But again, like I don't know if it's like consistent or not.
Yeah, I think this is a question we need to ask to some of the larger farmers in the region who they may be wholesaling to or donating.
Yeah.
Well,
I know
Sodexo,
Stonehill College.
Mm.
I was just going to add, I know Stonehill College, Sodexo used to be their caterers, would use some of the food from Stonehill College's farm in the meals at the school, but that farm is no longer functioning.
yeah, Sodexo sits in
and
the
also
middle.
Sodexo's not there. Yeah.
Yeah, they run all Providence school system. It's a Sodexo. So I don't know if it's a tangential, but that would be interesting to understand if there's others other than Sodexo who really do help, get farms to institutions. I've not seen anything other than Sodexo at large scale. And it's, again, very small scale here in Massachusetts right now.
I know
Is
the Council on Aging, I don't know, I'm not sure where they're getting their food from, though. I don't know what farm, but there is a farm that is donating to the Council on Aging in Brockton. And the neighborhood health center works with Vicenti to get cultural appropriate and fresh food out to person served or lower income.
It's probably South Shore Community Action Center, because they're basically like the biggest like food hub that we have right now. So like most like the Council on Aging's and other small food pantries come to South Shore Community Action. They work with Greater Boston. Greater Boston delivers to South Shore Community Action, and then they get it out to like smaller pantries. And like I know, for example, in the meeting that we were just in, Molly and I last week, like the Sheriff's Department farm like totally inundated them with like too many cucumbers, for example, and like they couldn't even like handle the amount that was like coming in all at one time. You know what I mean? So that's another issue as well, is just like the management process of, you go through really dry times, then you have like times when like you're absolutely overwhelmed by like one specific crop. You know what I mean? So that's another thing to take into consideration.
Yeah, and another one, we're going to be starting the carrot out on Nantucket soon. And it's funny because cucumbers are hard because they don't freeze well. You can do cold cucumber soup, maybe you can do warm cucumber soup, but Nantucket is doing a soup program. So they'll be just working with a local commissary kitchen and a local chef to just take all the excess and either freeze it, turn it into soup later, or turn it into soup now and then get it into some of the programs, emergency food relief programs, as a way to try and take care of some of that excess. But cucumbers are hard.
When I worked for Weir River Farm and we had our CSA program, we brought food directly to Quincy and Brockton to Father Bill's, because they were the only ones that could really kind of like handle that capacity. They had like a kitchen that they were actually producing like on site with meals and stuff like that. And they would take mostly anything, but one time we had like an overwhelmingly great kohlrabi crop and like nobody wanted it. So,
but they're missing out. Kohlrabi's the best.
So I think Coastal Food Shed might be one you want to add. They don't get to large institutions, but they do work with schools and daycares and stuff. They're a food hub down in that we support out of Fall River.
New Bedford, but they do get to.
I'm sorry, New Bedford. You're right. I'm sorry, it's New Bedford. New Bedford exit. Yep.
And the other one, I don't know if anyone knows if I know they're doing a little less local food now, but Sid Wainer's out of New Bedford, but I would imagine they are coming through Plymouth County. So
who are they, Rita?
Sid Wainer, SIDWAINER, and they might be a good one to follow up with. They're locally owned, smaller, big for our area, but smaller on the grand scheme, food producer or distributor. And they do work with local farms. and support. So it would be interesting. We might follow up with them and see if there's anyone in Plymouth County that they're delivering their wholesaling to.
Mhm.
So there is a fresh cut company on the Cape, but my experience with most of the fresh cut companies is they don't source locally. In fact, I can't find one that sources locally. I wonder if Sid Wainers does actually. That'd be awesome.
Is Fresh Cut a distributor?
It's Ring Brothers is the fresh cut company.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Ring Brothers, there's a lot of fresh cut there. There's also Boston does a fresh cut, just like Western Mass Food Processing Center does some fresh cut. And there's also the Commonwealth Kitchens, which does work like this. Your Soup project, they did a great one on squash. So they had a surplus of squash. They didn't know what to do with it. They all got together. The big problem is we don't have automation for peeling the squash, but they did a big squash soup deal last year with Commonwealth Kitchen. So these are, I don't know if you want to put food hubs on there, but I know that Boston Food Hub Ties is working diligently every day to get large institutions access. And Annie Broad that runs that division is just an amazing player.
Okay, well, yeah, no, we'll follow up because again, these, they very well may, particularly when it comes down to distribution, be getting into institutions and we don't know about it. So we'll follow up with them. Okay, that's another great list here. I think again, anything comes to mind, I'll come back to it, but we can move on to 25. Who in Plymouth County is promoting retailing healthful local foods? They might be doing demonstration projects, pilot projects, marketing campaigns, point of sale signage, social media, any other way of distinguishing healthy foods, local foods. So this is kind of that retail point.
There's a buy local. There's a buy local program that if you can get into it, there's some modicum of grants under $50,000. There are also centers of excellence that just came up in the last 6 months that just got a bunch of grants. For instance, Farm to Institution New England became one of them. And these are about promoting local, about helping local producers, gain, some benefit in marketing experience and expertise. So there's a couple that I know of that try to help support buy local. And these are MDAR related grants, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, CMAP is our official buy local. So they're the ones that receive our state grant funding. So they cover Plymouth County and they cover Bristol County, I believe. Healthy Appetites in Plymouth, which is a retail outlet. They do a lot with local farmers. Homestead Harvest, which is located in Whitman, they aggregate from local farmers and then they deliver to folks with like HIP. That's another one as well.
Anyone doing any kind of sort of nutrition, sometimes at farmers market, but cooking demonstrations, any grocery stores? I know Vicente's come up a bit. Like
UMass Extension has nutrition educators. Their office right now is in Raynham. I know they used to be centered in Brockton and I think still do a lot in more of the city-based communities.
And they do attend the Brockton Farmers Market and do demonstrations on Fridays.
Okay.
WIC does demonstrations.
Yeah, Plymouth Farmers Market used to have like that twice a month from different organizations would come in. So whether it be like a nonprofit but I don't know if they still do that anymore with their new location.
I know several council on agings do nutrition programs as well too throughout our region.
UMass Extension also does food safety training as well to help make sure people understand that. That's where we got our Food Safety Modernization Act training.
At OCY, we worked with Mass General on a Be Well study where they came out and did some surveys with our pantry attendees, and they had an incentive. They provided a grocery store gift card, but in our pantry we have foods marked as green, yellow, and red, so they're able to look at the nutritional values of the food. And then they were asked by this study, did that impact you choosing that food or not? So it was able to provide some education through that.
That's an interesting study to have as well. Is that something you could share a link to?
Let me check with my food access coordinator and see. They are still conducting it, so I'm not sure if we got any
Oh,
metrics.
gotcha.
But I'll
Okay,
definitely
cool.
That's how France does food labeling as well, too, is based on color and nutrition value. It's interesting.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah, that
based
is-
on insurance, pediatricians were providing clients with nutritionists who would give samples of healthy foods, and also provide you with, well, what was Digger Foods and Just Roots that would give you fresh food from the farm. So pediatricians were giving people access to nutritionists that would give you better food options.
Awesome. And was that in Brockton?
Yes, yes.
Very cool.
So Marisol, is Digger Foods like completely like wrapped up? Like, are they no longer?
They're gone.
They're gone. Yeah, they're gone. So Just Roots first took the brunt of that. So Just Roots was doing home deliveries, especially to seniors and moms with new babies of, fresh foods from the farm. But now they are not gone, but they're no longer working with state insurance to provide the food based on insurance paying. Now it's a cash system where you could pay for them to deliver fresh fruits and vegetables to your house, which most low-income people couldn't do to begin with, right? So it was important for Mass Health to cover that cost, but that is completely gone now. So, like I said, and My Brother's Keeper is providing more fresh fruits and vegetables in their food boxes that they deliver to people now because those two programs are gone.
Would Edible Southeast be
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, they do a lot of promotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
Through you to Megan, Megan, are we still doing a CSA type thing in Stoughton?
We do still have the relationships, but they're not currently we don't currently have a farm coming and doing the CSA through here. We do have Fair Foods, which is a food rescue organization. And they come every Wednesday to our Stoughton branch where they have produce priced at $2 per bag. And it's like almost a 12-pound bag of produce that you can get. As well as they have other items for, $1. You could spend $8 and have a whole, full bag.
Rob, is that the same group that comes into Brockton sometimes and sells bags of food? I don't know if that's a food rescue group or.
It's possible. I know Fair Foods is going to Taunton for one of our Taunton branches as well for a while. And they go to other places as well. They're a separate organization, so it is possible.
I have to run. Sorry, guys. See you at the next meeting. I look forward to continuing this. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marisol.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. I'll follow up as well. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank
you
both.
very much, guys.
Really
Great
appreciate it.
contributions.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, let's head over to 26. Okay, in Plymouth County, are there policies, practices, or programs that are providing fresh food access for limited resource and limited mobility residents? So that could be through a farmer's market, produce delivery services, which I think we just heard about a few, SNAP and WIC enabled purchasing, maybe cost share incentive programs. So, and this is one too, the limited mobility is a big one. Yeah, limited resource, limited mobility. Sounds like I'm going to fill in Marisol, some of the programs Marisol was calling out, the Just Roots, I think sounds like that would fit in here.
Yeah, Meals on Wheels with that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they implement fresh food into that, but
Well, I would say the other one, yeah, you're right, the fresh food piece.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to call it out because this is one too where they are an organization that is doing the service, and so it's always good to see where the opportunities to include maybe more fresh food. Could they be more of an ally or a partner in this? And I think the other one is nutritious. I think I can't remember if Meals on Wheels getting on board, but the idea of medically tailored meals is being discussed more, or at least low sodium, some of those classics. So
Through our HRSN programming, we do nutritionally appropriate meals. So they are, okayed by a registered dietitian. They're just not medically tailored. And with that, we are able to deliver those to those individuals who are involved in the program. We'd love to get to a place where we can deliver from our general Y Community Market, our food pantry, but capacity wise, we are making our way there just slowly.
mm. I didn't, so to the point of delivery, fresh food, again, we've got Just Roots. Were there other ones? I know, Meg, you mentioned actually Homestead Harvest.
Yeah, they were doing like HIP, like they were utilizing like SNAP and HIP to do like delivery boxes, but they were acting as like the aggregate location. I'm trying to think of like other, I know that there's a woman in Middleborough, and I can't think of the name of her farm, and she was doing like mobile deliveries to Algonquin Heights, kind of same thing, like based off the SNAP and HIP program. I can't think of her name right now. Karen something. I'm trying to think of other local people, because there was an uptick in that model before all the HIP money got like taken back, like kind of got pulled back. But now it is reinstated, but I don't know exactly who like is going to get back into that model again.
Yeah. And do you have a sense of how many farmers in Plymouth are accept HIP? The probably information is out there. So like at farmers markets, would all of the farmers accept HIP? Would some of them? Does anyone know?
No, it's not every single farmer, because initially like it was a pilot program, and then you had to go through like a training. You have to get like a point of sale system that you like accept like the SNAP cards into. So and then the program got like so overwhelmingly popular that they were trying to like curb the number of farmers who accept it. So it's not like, for example, like when I was the assistant manager of Plymouth Farmers Market, like at that point in time, we only had, one vendor, Skinny Dip Farm, who took HIP. So they were coming in, but they're based out of like Westport / like Little Compton.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that the state has like probably a breakdown of exactly who accepts it at this point in time.
Yeah. I do just want to add, I remember, Joanne, we sent out the theme, the key terms before this meeting.
Yes.
So we did. So yeah, just that's something that we're going to do going forward for each theme. But just if there's anyone that doesn't know what HIP is, it's the Healthy Incentive Program, and it's a state program that anyone who has SNAP, they get additional dollars to spend with local farms on fresh produce. So, but those kind of terms, we're going to put these key terms together, and you'll have them in PDF and emails, but also if there's any terms that aren't familiar, definitely just shout it out. Okay, let's move on to 27. Okay, do we know of any policies, practices, programs, farms that subsidize sliding scale CSA subscriptions? Or do we know of any sliding scale CSA subscriptions? So CSA is community supported agriculture. And sometimes it's with one farm, sometimes it's with a farm that's pulling from many farms. And the idea is that you're paying in advance and then you're picking up a mixed box of vegetables from the farmer. And sliding scale, pay as you can, or any kind of tiered system. Anyone know of any?
The only tiering, if you will, that I've seen is the size of the box, half share, full share, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. But you're paying, and then you're just paying fixed price. Yeah.
Yeah, just quantity based.
No takers.
Step backwards, but I wonder if the CSAs have any delivery plans as well for homebound people.
Sometimes they go hand in hand, and I know, to your point, Joanne, Coastal Food Shed, who's based in New Bedford, we'll find out if they get into Plymouth County at all. But they have those shares, so they have a box that you can buy. I think they have a $20 box, $30 box, and maybe a $40 box, or some kind of tiering system like that. And that's a box of locally grown seasonal.
But that's based on ability to pay as opposed to quantity.
That's
of
based on
produce.
ability. That's, yeah, it's not sliding scale. It is quantity attached to a different price tier.
Yeah.
We haven't come across many. I think that Susan Murray from CMAP in the Bristol County, she mentioned that there were maybe 2 farms that had done it, maybe Langwater, maybe Freedom Farm. And I think Langwater is actually in Plymouth County, but
Yeah, I get a CSA from Langwater, and I don't think they offer that unless they maybe offer it not publicly. I don't know, like a different marketing mechanism, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they Langwater's in Easton, so technically they're not Plymouth County.
They're still in our project though.
Oh, okay.
Because they're part of the Old Colony region. But yeah, Weird Quirks. Yeah. So is Avon and Stone, which I believe are different county as well.
And thanks, Meg, for that link to Hip Farms there. One other one I'll throw out, because again, when we started the Barnstable County, we had a really strong representation from the fishing industry, and it reminded me that we used to have a CSF, so community supported fishery, where we did the same thing, and we would get a box of seafood every week. So just gonna throw that out there. Anyone ever heard of anything like that? Nothing. It was amazing, so we should definitely advocate for it. All right, let's move on to 28. Are there any policies, practices, or programs in Plymouth County that are making community-based nutrition education, cooking instruction, and youth education programming widely available?
Do schools still teach cooking? I don't know. Is that a thing you learn in school anymore?
Yeah, my daughter's at Women Hanson High School, and they do a cooking program, and I'm going to be going in to speak with their students about locally sourced food. We go into, like, I've worked with Hanover schools, I've worked with Plymouth schools. So like I do some of that as part of my job. I mean, obviously with 4-H, we do have a cooking club in Plymouth County. Our careers in agriculture program, the kids do, typically we will cook or prepare or eat some sort of fresh vegetable every week. But I can't think of like a specific like organization that's, really focused on specifically like cooking with local food for kids.
I think I can't remember who mentioned it now, but the pediatricians providing nutritionists, that might fall under here as well. I think that might have been Mirasol, so I can go back to the recording and find out who said that.
Yeah.
And Teresa Vernazaro again at Carver School Systems would be another connection. I know they do a bunch of public cooking things, and they've incorporated some cooking into the students, and then the hydroponics into their science rooms. So they're doing a bunch of great things. I can send over Teresa's contact information.
Great. That would be fantastic.
The only thing I can think of too is if you're, specifically enrolled in one of the vocational schools and you do the culinary department, or you're in a health education track, you might have more of that. But again, you have to be a student in that school.
That's a good point.
The councils on aging do quite a bit. Technically, they are open for all ages. Generally, most of these council on aging programs, but obviously, I think the folks that they get tend to be older.
And Megan, did you have anything Were you
Yeah,
gonna say
we over
something?
the summer had our food access coordinator, we on a weekly basis, go out to our camps, and instruct the Food Smarts curriculum. So she would do cooking demos, with the campers, have them be hands-on on it, and it was very nutritious based meals. We also have what's called our Healthy Weight in Your Child program, which does have a nutrition component to it. Parents are required to come to sessions as well, and it includes things like talking with the parents separately about budgeting as it relates to food. There's a grocery store tour aspect to it, just overall nutrition based as it relates to family health.
Excellent.
Did you say the Healthy Weight Child program?
It's
Did I get
called
that right?
Healthy Weight in Your Child. That's its
Okay.
overall name. We
Oh.
are working on a name that's a little bit more approachable.
Gotcha.
Perfect. Okay. All right. That got this last one for part A, subtheme A. So do we have policies, programs, practices in place to assist and promote emergency and supplemental food providers, like food banks and food pantries, to source fresh food from local farmers? Sounds like I'm just gonna jump on that one. It does sound like this is part of the relationship between South Shore, SSCIC, and the county farm. So an emergency and supplemental food providers would be sort of, yeah, food pantries, food banks, that emergency food relief.
Through our relationship with the Greater Boston Food Bank, which is where we get a majority, about 45,000 pounds of food each month, directly to our food pantry. They also work with enabling us with more local organizations. So, the Stop and Shop here in Stoughton, All Town Fresh in Easton, different organizations that can give us their rescue food items, as well as, we've just received from the food bank. Some of the boxes we've seen have come from, Ward's Berry Farm. So I know that a lot of local organizations are connected to the food bank, which then in turn comes back to the community once it makes its way through the food bank.
Great. I didn't realize that they were also sourcing from local farms.
Yeah, we just noticed that from the boxes, for some of our produce, but yeah, there has to be a connection on there, and that it's nice to see the community make its way back to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, with like the loss of the what is it, LFP grant, I mean that was a huge part of, being able to pay farmers full price and then, distribute it to food pantries and people in need for either, for free or for reduced cost. So with the loss of that grant, I know specifically, 3 or 4 farmers who are taking a hit because they had food that was like planned to be part of that grant, but now it will not be funded.
I think that's an interesting difference to make the difference between sourcing from local farmers and receiving from local farmers, because I'd say without that LFP, this is probably a question for each of the pantries, what farms are bringing you food that might otherwise go to waste. But the LFP really did facilitate the opportunity to just buy the food from local farms. So I would say it is going to be hard without that. Okay, that's theme 1. Theme 2, section A done. So we'll skip right on to part B, encouraging attention to food production and accessibility in disaster and emergency management planning. So do we have in Plymouth County policies, practices, or programs that specifically address food availability and accessibility in the event of a disaster? And I think that this is increasing a disaster emergency. A lot of times we're thinking about, so the MVP program that is currently funding this for a while, for up until really last year when they started thinking about food, but they were really focusing on hurricanes, natural disasters, other sort of more sort of like weather emergency situations. But COVID was another kind of emergency, and now I think what we're seeing too is kind of a political funding emergency. So broadening our thinking around what are the networks in place that are addressing food availability and accessibility in a really broad sense of disaster emergency.
Yeah, the one that I was thinking of was MDAR's FSIG grant, Food Security Infrastructure Grant. And so there is part of that funding structure is funding and strengthening like local infrastructure. So local farmers, can support like in the event of like national disaster or, other issues. So I know just for this funding round, like we worked with Hornstra, again, to try to strengthen up their access for like dairy in Plymouth County. But I don't know who else received that, may have received that funding in our area.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's still kind of fresh in our minds. Were there any organizations, like I know in Bristol County, we had the Dartmouth Y really stepped in and got people access to food, local food, and then the South Coast Food Policy Council, we acted as sort of an aggregator of emergency food relief partners for weekly meetings around access. I know in Barnstable, Cape Cod Cooperative Extension did that during COVID. Are there any organizations that kind of stand out as the organizations that pull people together in the event of an emergency in Plymouth County?
Every municipality would have, usually an EMS response team, either as a separate department or part of their police or fire. All of them do have hazard mitigation plans as well too that address some of these things. Food, unfortunately, is seldom mentioned in those. But I know that, for example, like in Brockton, when they use certain specific cooling shelters, then they have, provision for water and, snacks or something. But other than that,
yeah.
Can we safely add water to this discussion where it fits in the food chain? Drought is becoming a growing concern. There's a new announcement, I guess, that went out today. I'm operating my shallow well. Plimpton relies on individual wells with minor exception for some water that was brought in from Middleborough to a few homes based on pollution from the Middleborough dump. But drought affects farmers, and it also, in the case of Plimpton and me presently, my well is running out, and I'm managing it daily, hourly, almost.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Howard. I hadn't thought about that aspect in how drought, but also flooding. So in the event of an emergency, that where water is impacted, that even terms of cooking or cleaning food, or like being able to eat in the event of an emergency, how's that factored in?
So
yeah, the additional consultants that we're hiring in the RFP specifically were instructed to look at these kind of more climate related impacts on the system as well too. So I think we'll get some really interesting data from them.
Great.
Right. All right, maybe Joanne, we tackle one more that's related to this. So we'll see if we've got anything here. All right. Does anyone know about emergency or disaster plans that are integrated and coordinated with other local or regional emergency relief and food access activities? It's a mouthful. Yeah, again, is there any sense of organizations that are coordinating, or who's kind of leading the charge in the event of, does Plymouth not have any emergencies or disasters maybe? Not yet.
They do. Yeah. I mean, the coordination, I think what's popped out here is that one of the people we need to get to know better is the first responder community, the folks that are in charge of this stuff. Because I know there's currently a big planning effort in Plymouth underway with wildfire. But outside of the municipal level, though, I'm not sure how much municipalities coordinate with one another. I know there was some coordination with those communities around the nuclear power plant in Plymouth and evacuation routes and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how far it goes beyond that anymore.
Yeah, we have a mutual aid as it relates to police and fire, but not sure that it extends beyond those two.
Yeah.
There is a coordinated Plymouth County response team.
Yeah.
You know, it is kind of specifically for horses, but they do also train them on like managing like larger livestock that like could become like a safety hazard. So they are trained in like basics of like handling like, again, like horses, cattle, things like that. But that
so that would be like rescue efforts more.
Yeah, they have like a name. I can't think of it.
It's TERPs, I think, Megan, Technical Emergency Response Programs, the TERP programs. And there's a few towns that usually get together around a geographic cluster and they work together. It's mutual aid and they all train together on things like that.
I was gonna say they do a whole training program for it too.
I just gonna throw a couple out there from other towns, one in Eastham on the Cape. So they're starting to look at what are climate resilience hubs and what are emergency hubs. Like, where do people get their information? Where are people going to find out who has information in the event of a disaster? And libraries are becoming a key piece of the puzzle and becoming these resource hubs for this kind of information. There was another one that I was thinking of. Oh, you know, also what we found in Bristol County was that some of this is quite siloed into organizations. So I think it's the Bristol Elders, it's Bristol Elder or South Coast Elder Services. They have a plan for their clients and sort of their demographic in the event of an emergency, but it's not integrated. So that's something I think probably as we work through this, you know, finding out, do food pantries, do some of the people that are touching on food have plans for this? So. All right, that brings us right to 1:30. Thank you all so much for staying on and for listening and contributing. That again was an excellent amount of information collected. So an amazing amount of information collected. So any questions, especially from anyone that is joining us sorry, I think, Brian, it might just be you. So I'm putting you on the spot. Oh no, Megan as well. Any questions from anyone who's first meeting with us? All good? Great. Excellent. All right. We will be sending out notes and recordings and we'll be seeing you again in a month.
Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.